Welcome back, it's me, Lou. For today's video, we're going to do a little bit of a follow-up. So, many videos ago, I had a video showcasing some custom action figures I made. And those custom action figures included a Masters of the Universe Origins inspired Wondar action figure and Masters of the Universe Origins inspired Warlord figure. So if you watched those videos some time ago, I make mention that what I also want to do at besides doing the custom figures is that I want to do a custom case for them. And I eventually got around to that yesterday. Truth be told, I was really, I don't know, after I made these action figures, I was kind of burnt out on the process of this, working on these two guys specifically. I was just burned out looking at them, and once I was done with them, I shot the YouTube video and I set them aside, and they just kind of sat there for almost like 2 months. And they started collecting dust, which isn't a bad thing, but this Wondar figure, for whatever reason, so the original head on this guy is a Masters of the Universe Origins He-Man figure, and I repainted the hair, and for whatever reason, over the last month or so, the hair, it started developing some sort of weird chemical reaction with the plastic. And even though I primed the head first before I painted the hair, so that the paint wasn't directly on the hair itself, for whatever reason, the hair is starting to melt, and it's coming through the paint itself and the primer. So when you touch the hair, it's really kind of like tacky and sticky, which is disgusting. And where I was keeping this figure, it gets dusty to begin with, and it was starting to collect dust on the head, and dust, it was kind of sticking to the hair because of that weird chemical reaction. So I'm like, I gotta just box these figures up before it gets any worse. So I went ahead, and even though initially I had high hopes of making a really nice custom package for this, and I wanted to do a really cool card design with Wondar on there and everything, I was lazy, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take the box I used for my Roboto custom figure and just swap out the Roboto name, just throw in Wondar and just card this up and just call it a day. So yeah, these two carded figures, it was kind of a lazy project. Initially, I had high hopes of going into it like guns a-blazing and creating all these cool graphics and images and making it look really awesome. But in the end, I was lazy, tired, and burned out. So I just stole my Roboto graphic, and I just used that card to make this. Even the Roboto graphic wasn't completely mine. I just hunted down the Masters logos on the internet and kind of Frankenstein the background from all these different cards and images I saw online. So yeah, here's the custom card for my Wondar figure. It's in one of those protective cases that's it's created by a company called Starcase, and it's produced by ProTech. I found these cases on Amazon, and I believe their primary purpose is for like vintage Star Wars figures. So a vintage Star Wars figure on card will fit perfectly in here. But for me, the dimensions are great because they hold, my custom figures well, and the dimensions of the card is easy for me to work with on my printer. So let me take this guy out real quick so I can show you what was involved in making this. So the Warlord figure, same process. I'll show his off in a second. So for the Wondar figure, I just printed it out on cardstock. It's kind of a flimsy cardstock. It's not that thick, so it kind of like gets floppy and wavy. There's Wondar, and the way Wondar's affixed to this is that I just took an ice pick, poked 2 holes at the side of his waist, and just threw a twist tie around his waist and tied it on the back. So that's what keeps him in place. Like I said, the reason why I wanted to box this guy up as soon as possible is because his head's getting really tacky. There was some sort of weird chemical reaction with the paint and the plastic, and over time it's starting to melt the plastic, I believe. So it's just really disgusting and sticky. So this is very bare. I regret that I didn't put as much work into it. Ideally, I would have liked to throw the Mattel logo on here and some of the extra copy, like, you know, ages like 4 and up, and the warnings, and a further description of Wondar besides his name, but I'm lazy, and I hate myself for being lazy. On the back, I was even more lazy, and I didn't want to do the whole deal with the comic strip and the descriptor and the catalog of figures. And I'm also kind of cheap right now because most of my money's been going to toys, and printing out all these cards on my printer, it like drains the hell out of the ink. So I'm like, I'm just going to print something black and white for the back. And I just did a search for Masters of the Universe black and white, and I pulled up this crazy old JCPenney ad. I think it was from maybe like a newspaper, and it's vintage, it's cool. I'm like, you know what, this would be a good card back graphic, just because it's a throwback to that time period, and it just looks, you know, looks old, looks vintage, and I thought it just fit the theme of these figures. So it's cool. It's JCPenney. It's an ad. Meet the Masters of the Universe characters in person. So I guess the deal here is maybe they were doing like you know, like some dude dressed up as like a mascot He-Man or Skeletor, and he meets the kids while they buy the toys or whatever. I mean, Toys R Us did that back in the day, so I'm assuming maybe JCPenney did also. And here was the location. I think it was in Washington. And here's a brief inventory of what JCPenney had in stock. Grayskull, some of the figs, the vehicles. So yeah, this is, it's lazy. I hate myself that I was kind of lazy doing it, but I just wanted it to be done with. So yeah, here's my custom Origins Wondar card. And speaking of Wondar, I've been watching the Netflix Masters of the Universe, and it's been pretty neat. I've been kind of enjoying it. I can see why some people are upset about it, but you know, there's parts that annoy me also. But for the most part, I don't know. I think some of the changes, for me, they're a little bit forgivable. Is it perfect? No, but at the same time, I don't mind it that much. As much as I like Kevin Smith, some of his stuff is always hit or miss with me. So, and if you've seen the cartoon, I don't know, leave some comments below. I'd like to hear what other people have to say about it. Alright, let's get this guy back on, carded up. Yeah, I love these cases. They're awesome. So if you're a Star Wars guy and you like to have your stuff mint on card, these cases are great. And for customs, they're awesome also. So we'll put Wondar away and we'll look at Warlord. Warlord's the same deal. Let me take him out real quick. So Warlord, same deal, same lazy backdrop. I really do wish I'd went more on the card design, but I don't know. I mean, I have so many projects on my table right now. It's kind of like I gotta like pick and choose my battles. It's like, you know, some stuff needs a little bit more of my attention than others. Not that this is a throwaway project, but for now, you know, I might come revisit these and do a better package design, but for now, this does the trick. It keeps the dust off of them, and then gives me the opportunity to actually put them on display already, and get them hung up on the wall. Yeah, it's cool. And let's get this guy carded back up also. So I'm kind of attentive of how I laid these cards on this package before I clasp it down with the top. Just because since the paper stock I printed this on is kind of flimsy, if I don't package this correctly, the card kind of like folds inside of this clamshell. So I just want to make sure that it's clasped down at the edges so that it just stays in place. Alright, speaking of more custom package designs. Alright, so I collect wrestling figures also, and I had an Aew Chris Jericho. So this is from Wave 1. And this isn't the official package, it's part of the official package. So I had this guy hanging up, and then for whatever reason he fell off the wall. And when he fell off the wall, like the top third. If you're familiar with the AEW packages, the top third, that's where the logo is located, and for whatever reason, it like ripped off, and I was kind of upset about it because, this was a Wave 1 figure. This was the original one. It's not the repainted one where they made the flesh tone correction. And these were a pain in the... Not that it's worth any money, but it was a pain in the butt to get at the start of the pandemic. Because if some of you are wrestling fans, you'll remember when these figures were supposed to come out on the actual AEW Dynamite show, they kept on saying, oh, our figures are going to be available at Walmart on this date. And then they weren't, and it was like a nightmare trying to hunt them down. And the secondary prices initially on eBay were crazy. So... I was kind of upset that this got ruined, mostly because of the sentimental value of it. It kind of represented, part of my life. It was kind of like when we first went into the pandemic, and collecting action figures was kind of still one of those weird things that kind of kept my sanity. So I was like kind of upset. I'm like, dude, I don't want to hunt down another one, and this one kind of had sentimental value. So I was kind of pissed that the package was ruined, and I'm like, okay, what can we do to salvage what's left of the package? And can we do something with this and still still have it look nice, but also still have some sort of sentimental attachment to this figure, even though the card's wrecked and it's no longer like mint on card. So I'm like, okay, I have one of these spare cases, I can use that. And lo and behold, for whatever reason, it's almost a near perfect fit for what was left of the original package. Like, I had to trim the upper third off and make some adjustments on the side, but the original package fits almost perfectly inside of this clamshell case, which is nuts. So after I did that, I'm like, okay, let's figure out a way to make this look nice. And I salvaged the logo from the top of the box that got ripped, retaped it onto here, and then on the inside, I dabble in art also. So underneath Jericho, there's a small mini poster portrait of Jericho that's on the inside of this box. So if you remove this, I'm not going to remove it because it was kind of a nightmare getting this thing all perfect. So if you remove this, underneath there's a cardboard insert, and it's a portrait of Jericho that I drew, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of like an extra bonus. But what makes this repackage very special for me is that, so this version of Chris Jericho depicts him at AEW Double or Nothing, and that was a pay-per-view they did in Las Vegas. Well, I actually went to that pay-per-view, and I held on to the ticket stub. So for me, I took the ticket stub and I included it with the packaging. So here is the actual ticket stub from the event. So for me, this is kind of like a commemorative, kind of like keepsake. So for one, it's Chris Jericho's inaugural figure for AEW, and this is the look he debuted at Double or Nothing. And since I went to the event, I got to include, the actual ticket stub, and it just encapsulates everything about that event. And I don't know, for me, I took a ruined toy and I made it even more sentimental and more special to me because it's a keepsake. It reminds me of when I went out to Vegas for this cool, pay-per-view. And on the back, this is the artwork I drew of Chris Jericho. Some of it's getting cut off at the bottom because of the ticket, but that's what's on the inside of this. So if you remove the figure, there's actually the full image of this on the inside, and this is an image that I drew of Chris Jericho. So this is Le Champion, and yeah. So even though I was kind of bummed that I ruined the original package, I don't know how it fell off the wall and how it got torn. In the end, I was able to salvage what was left and repackage it into this cool clamshell, so it looks nice. I repositioned the logo above them, and it fits like a glove. The extra bonus poster on the inside is a nice touch, and I'm so giddy that I get to actually I get to display the ticket stub. Like, I have most of the ticket stubs, probably from like 90% of the events I've gone to in over the last almost 30 years, whether it's movies or sporting events, wrestling especially. I have so many ticket stubs from everything. So, for me, it's kind of a cool way to display it. And lastly, since we're talking custom package designs, So recently I made a custom G.I. Joe classified Wild Weasel, and I didn't have time to make a box for him. With some of my previous custom G.I. Joes, I would just take the classified boxes and just swap out the character portraits. But I didn't have any extra classified boxes on hand, so I'm like, all right, let's just card it and make a card, and we'll make a carded figure. So here we go. Here's my 6-inch G.I. Joe classified Wild Weasel on the custom card back that I made. I had a spare bubble. This was from one of my tabletop gaming miniatures, and it was a little big, but I'm like, you know what, I don't care. It's the only thing I have on hand. So then I designed the card back. Went on Google, found the logos, and then finding images of Wild Weasel was kind of hard. Not that there weren't any, but it's hard to find like clean high-res images, which I couldn't find any. So I took some low-res images and cleaned them up and redetailed them so it kind of fit this guy a little bit better. And I had to Frankenstein a bunch of other images I found just to make the card back. And same with the back. You know, I found a couple of images of the card backs on Google, but then none of them were perfect, so I had to take bits and pieces from different ones and just Frankenstein it together. And I haven't found a Wild Weasel file card, so yeah, it's cool. The nice thing is it's kind of interesting because this is a 6-inch figure, but the card back is actually the size of roughly like a Star Wars 3 3/4 figure or a 3 3/4 G.I. Joe. But it works. You know, this will make a nice display piece. It kind of, for me, completes the whole experience of making this guy. And I don't know, it's neat. I get the feels when I hold this. This kind of reminds me of when I was a kid and I had the 3 3/4 G.I. Joe figures. So yeah, here's some of my custom packages that I've been fiddling around with. I don't know, it's fun. So yeah, let's wrap this up. Thanks again for checking out this video. It's a little bit different, but I just wanted to share this with you. You know, creating customs is something, at least the past year, I've been more into than lately. And it's just, I don't know, it's been a great, fun time. Hope to do more custom packages, and I really hope that in some ways I inspire you to do the same. Or if you're a customizer like myself, you know, I'd love to see some of the stuff you're doing. Alright, so until the next time, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.